Hello everyone, welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're doing good and well. So time for a midweek album review this week, and this time I'm reviewing the fifth studio album from progressive metal band Tesseract and their release War of Being, which came out on the 15th of September last week via Kscope, and the album is 9 tracks and comes in just a little bit under an hour in length. So this is Tesseract's kind of return / comeback album, I guess. It's been a few years at least since we had Sonder, an album I quite liked, but it didn't really blow me away. Whereas this album seems like the band have come back with an absolute screaming vengeance here, with a fantastically crushing, heavy, huge sounding, yet also pretty emotional album at the same time. The band here have combined melody with that djent sound, with ambient soundscapes, and of course Daniel Tompkins' amazing vocal acrobatics, which come and go on this album. He knows when to sort of refrain, I think, but also when to really punch through you as a listener with some absolutely spine-tingling vocal performances scattered throughout this album at different times. But it never feels to me like the album is too overdone or over the top, because there's enough kind of refrain and like I say, there are enough quieter moments and ambient soundscapes that you can get lulled a little bit into a full sense of security, and then the album will unleash more surprises at you as you go through it. I also really like the concept of this album about two characters that have crashed in an unfamiliar land on their ship, and they're sort of stranded and they are questioning their own existence, or at least that is my brief summary of what I believe the concept of this album is about, though feel free to correct me about any of that in the comments or to expand on that a little more. But I do think the album captures that concept very well, and in fact I really love the artwork as well as it happens, which is sort of slightly abstract but sort of quite sort of dramatic as well, and in the way that you have that figure there with the figure behind. It's sort of mirroring, the figure's kind of mirroring itself. I really like that front cover. Yeah, this is just a simply crushing album. Like I say, Tesseract have come back, bringing together some of their best elements. And yeah, let's go into the tracks of this War of Being release from Tesseract. So you've got Natural Disaster, which is the album opener. And I like the way this track sort of is quite heavy, but then you have that come down moment that Tesseract do so well, the way they transition from really heavy, djenty passage suddenly into ambient, spacier passages, and they do that incredibly well, I think, on the first track. Really good opener for the album. Can't really fault the opening track much. I wanted to talk a bit about third track, The Grey, where Amos Williams is given a chance to shine on his bass guitar in the quieter moments, but you also have that really fantastic djent riff, which sort of takes centre stage in this track for me and is absolutely fantastic. Not to mention fourth track, Legion, which showcases Daniel Tompkins and his absolutely incredible range of vocals, going falsetto sometimes here, just going, showing us what he can do, but always fitting in pretty well with this song and how the song works and the song structure works as well, and kind of really just another really epic song on this album. By this point I wasn't sure how the album could really get too much better. We move on to Tender as my next track that I want to talk about, exploring Tesseract's ambient tender side, no pun intended. A beautiful, enticing atmosphere before it just gets heavier towards the end. I just found this track really kind of quite beautiful to listen to, actually a bit like Sirens, which was a similar sort of track that also brought out that the quieter part of Tesseract, shall we say, but in a very, very kind of evocative and interesting way. War of Being, this 11-minute track, was simply a roller coaster of a Tesseract song for me, showcasing everything that they do great in a 11-minute rather epic song. And it really was, just simply put, a roller coaster from the very beginning, with the crushing riff that I feel like that riff alone is sort of a good window into what you can expect with this album. It's crushing, but it's very memorable, and like this album has so many great moments packed within it for me, and that riff is certainly could become a bit of the trademark for this album as time goes on. It's certainly the riff that locked me into the album when I first kind of listened to War of Being. Closer Sacrifice was, I think this is the album closer of the year for me, and it was simply a crushing track, but I found it crushing emotionally as well as being like a great song, a little bit in a way, like maybe a slightly shorter than War of Being, but sort of having the same impact to me as that song. Once again, Daniel Tompkins just flies in this track with his range of vocal acrobatics, once again delivering another spine-tingling track to cap off a frankly spine-tingling album. And does that mean that for the first time on the Green Man channel, we may have the highest score and a current album review at least has had? I think we may well finally be revealing a 10 out of 10 for Tesseract's War of Being. And of course, you may not all agree with that, but for me, this has been the first album this year, I think, that has truly blown me away. Thanks very much all for watching. Hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know your comments on this album, how you feel about it, how you would score it. Of course, I may be in a minority giving this a perfect score for once on the channel, but I just felt this felt like one of the most perfect listens I've certainly had this year, and as far as prog metal goes, definitely up there in the album of the year contenders. So thank you so much again. Until next time, bye for now.